Hey guys, welcome back to a little maintenance video. Right now I'm working on, I gotta replace this shear bolt here on the planter marker. So I gotta get my new bolt and get that one put in there. But as you can see, it's a nice day out. But this past weekend, today's Tuesday, and this past Saturday night and Sunday evening, we got, just under 2 inches of rain. And so that stopped us for a few days. But it's a good time to do maintenance stuff and get the planter ready to go. So I'm going to grab my new shear bolt and bring you back in when I'm ready to work on this marker. These are a 5/16 bolt, and like I say, it's actually just a shear bolt. That way, in case you should catch the marker on something, it'll break the bolt, and then the marker just simply folds back. It's got a hinge right here, which is when the marker is out. This will be on the back side, and so like I say, if you should catch it on something, like it'll just simply snap that bolt, and the marker just simply hinges back and kind of drags in the dirt, but it saves it from getting all torn up. However, over time, just all the constant pull and that kind of stuff slowly begins to put a little bit of a rainbow in these bolts. And then they actually just end up breaking on their own. And you can see, well, hopefully you can see that halfway decent on camera. Got a rainbow in that one. And surprisingly, it will even rainbow a grade 8. That's a grade 8 bolt. Because you got your 6 little markings on the head. A grade 5 has 3, and a grade 2 has nothing. So there's a new one. Put that through like that. And so we're kind of thinking maybe on Thursday of maybe trying a little bit of getting back out, but we'll just have to see. If you saw my last video where we were planting, I actually took that video on Saturday. And then I uploaded it on Sunday. But thankfully we were able to get a great big chunk of corn planted Saturday. And now we are down to, about 160 acres of no-till corn. And so I'll show you, we take and run Martin row cleaners. And for no-till, I readjust those down. That way it cleans the trash away from in front of the double disc openers. But I've got to grease up that fertilizer pump. I've got to grease up this clutch underneath here. And so I'll try and show you what all I can. I'll show you here a little bit, greasing up this roller pump. I want to take and gotta loosen up the chain and just take it off like that. And go ahead and spin it around, because on the main shaft going through the pump, you got a greaser here on each end. Take and clean them off. In fact, here a couple days ago, I had 2 of these. The bearings went out. So I always keep rebuild kits on hand. So I put new bearings into them, and they were good to go again. It's just like it's just a regular hub with 2 bearings race, and then you got your grease seal on the back side. And then on this pump, you got zerks on each end right here. Clean them off. I'll grab my grease gun. All right, that's got that one. And that one. Then usually these little rollers take about, 2, maybe 3 shots. Not much. Okay. Don't know how well you can see that, but the grease kind of came out the end right there. That's got that one. So I'm not going to show you the whole entire thing. It's just like that on the other 2 rollers, but that's how you grease up these squeeze pumps. And of course, these here are old. All your newer planters and that kind of stuff run a regular piston pump. And so someday it would be nice if I could take and convert this over to a piston pump, but I would need 2 of them. One on this one for this half the planter, and one for over there doing that half the planter. And so these squeeze pumps work good enough for what we need, and so probably just keep with them and keep them going as long as we can. And when you're done greasing the pump, just put your chain back on. Kind of gotta roll it back and forth a little bit to get the sprocket to line up just right. Make sure it's good and tight. Then tighten the idler back down like that. All right, that's got that pump done. Now I'm gonna grab my grease gun, and I'll show you greasing up that clutch right there also. On these clutches, there's 4 grease zerks, 2 out here on the end, right here, and then there's 1 here on the back side. And what these do is when you go to lower the planter down, it trips a little micro switch back here in the middle of the planter on those 2 big master cylinders. I don't know how we can see them sitting up there. They're underneath a big cover, but you can see the gold ends on each end of the cylinders. There's 2 little paddles that ride on each of those, and when the planter gets almost all the way down, those trip, and when that does, when that micro switch trips, it causes this, it activates a solenoid bank, sitting right back up in that area. And it pulls, it makes these 2 little cylinders. There's 1 on each side, 1 here, and there's 1 over on the left-hand side. And those cylinders pull in, and it makes that clutch come together. And that activates the seed drive and the fertilizer pumps. And so, I always like to usually what we do is about, every 80 acres, we'll take and we like to grease up these clutches and also the pumps. And then as far as the gauge wheels go, if I can get that thing on there, there we go. As far as the gauge wheels go, back here on the units, we grease them up, once a day. Okay, had some grease come out on that one. And there's 1 more grease ring, I'm trying to find it, right up through here. There it is. I've dug, you get all the old grease and crud and that kind of stuff dug out there, you can find it. Okay, there it is. All right, and that's got that clutch. I've actually already done the clutches on the clutch and the pump on the left-hand side. I actually did that yesterday, come to think of it. And so, yeah, that's just showing you how to grease up a squeeze pump, then also on these clutches. And Dad said he's having trouble with number 8 on the fertilizer. And so I may bring you in here and show you a little bit, see if I can find anything on. He says not wanting to put out what appears to be an actual true full rate fertilizer. And so I may take that apart and I'll show you what I get into. Before I get to that fertilizer thing, I'll show you here right quick on greasing this here up. This here is the seed drive shaft for the middle rows, because since it drives from the end, this is over on the left hand side now, since the wing wheels have the seed drive or do the driving, of course it drives this wing and that steps from the drive shaft down here up to this top one. Then this one here comes right on across and into that middle. You can see that little, well, you got this T head here with a roll pin, and that's spring loaded. And then once it turns, that roll pin jumps into that that little receptacle right there. So we always grease these here, that way they can spring back and forth easily. In fact, I think it was Saturday, we had, Dad said he had rows 7 and 8, those two right over there, stop on him. And come to find out, on the other side, there's a roll pin that sits right here. Right there's the end of it. And that had actually broke. And so the shaft was turning round and round inside this headpiece. So we had to put a new roll pin into it. And in fact, actually, while we were at it, we actually replaced the roll pins on that one and went ahead and did this side over here too. Then this right here is basically a slider. Because as the planter wing flexes up and down, of course you got a U-joint right here. I don't grease these too often because they don't run in much of an angle, only just slight as the wing goes up and down as you have flex. And I will grease this part here a little bit more. And but yeah, other than that, that's why I go through and grease pretty much every day. And it just helps eliminate a lot of wear and that kind of stuff. Unlike a neighbor of mine told me here a few years back, he said he would only grease his planter whenever it rained. Well, in that case, the planter might not get greased very often. Especially if you have a good week and a half or so of no rain. And so, anyway, we like to grease them up every day. That way, it just eliminates a lot of wear on stuff and that kind of thing. Let's see here if we can find anything. Get that clamp loosened up. I can see what appears to be fertilizer just kind of standing in the tube, and so it's not wanting to come out or go down that metal tube, metal pipe, whatever you want to call it. And if you saw my videos, this would have been back in the winter, I put all new knives on, because these are a Yetter single disc fertilizer openers with that cast knife. And so I went across, put all 12 new knives on. And so I'm gonna grab a pair of pliers and get that off there. It's stuck on there. Well, I don't. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. But looking down that little tube, it's actually got a slight bend in it. There we go. I bent it back straight. Okay, I can literally see daylight from this end coming right out here at the bottom here. Maybe it's got something up inside that. Well, let's grab a number 9 wire right here and do a little reaming and see if we can clean him out. Who knows, it might got like... Well, I had pressure on it, that's for sure. In fact, I can feel stuff running down that. Yeah, it's like sediment junk. Huh. Yeah, it just had it restricted. Because you can see back here, that's all wet. And, oh, I've turned the blade. You can see where fertilizer's dribbled out because it's rusty right there. All right, I think that's the only problem. It was just full of crud. Okay, I can see up in there, clear through it. Can't take and rattle anything else out of there. Okay, I may go ahead and loosen up that clamp right there also. I'm gonna grab a jug of water and take and kind of wash that off. Okay, that's got that old sticky fertilizer kind of washed off that. And like I say, looking up in there, it almost looks like I can see some more crud. So we'll take and loosen this clamp here up. And basically what these are, this hose is too big for that tube, and so it's actually a little reducer, reducing down to the correct size. And those have actually been on there so long it's got like a hose barb inside that. I may actually, I can turn it, but I can't get that to pop off. I may have to get my hose cutter and somebody just take and cut that right there. Because you can see, in fact, yeah, you might be able to see that right there. Looks like some more junk up inside there. Well, that's not going to work too well. Grab the old number 9 wire and okay, now the hole's kind of plugged back shut again. Okay, in fact, right there it is. It's like a little chunk of rust or something in there. I'm gonna go grab my hose cutter, and somebody just taking, I can cut it right there. I've got plenty of hose to work with, and then just simply reattach it and clean that junk all out. Right there appears to be at the top of that barb. There we go. Well, I'll just hang on to that so it don't get lost. Yeah, that thing actually works great for cutting hose and tubing and that kind of stuff. Bought it years ago. It's a Craftsman, and you just take a box cutter blade, if I remember right. Yeah, there we go, and that releases the blade. It somehow pops out of there. Yeah, there we are. And then that way, if you need to put a new blade in, put the blade in, clamp it back together like that, done deal. But yeah, it works great because it's got like a flat side right there, and it provides a nice clean cut. Well, whatever was in there, I'm guessing it fell out. Why? And that piece flipped on the ground because I don't see anything else in there anymore. It's all nice and clean up beside that tube. I'll take a little water here. There we are. Wash him out. Should be good to go again. Now I just got to take and trim that little piece off that hose barb and put him back on. And when you're cutting that off there, you just gotta be careful that you don't go clear through the hose and put a big dig into that barb, otherwise it'll leak. Okay, there it's loosening up. A little bit more back here on the back side of the barb. Like I say, I put these reducers on back there when we bought this planter. There we go. And we bought the planter back in 2007. So it's been on there for a while. That's why I didn't want to come off. Once it just kind of gets formed around that barb piece, it just gets stuck on there. Alrighty, there we go. Clean him up, plug him back in. Well, first off, let's put the clamp on. Now we're ready to plug in. There we go. Hunt down the bit driver wherever it's at. Get it dug off my little roller chair. There we go. All right. Now we'll get this clamp here lined up, and they'll be ready to plug back onto the coulter. There we go, just like that. Alrighty, I think that should have it. Dad had thought it might have been number 7. However, number 7 looks good. There's nothing standing in the line. It's all wide open. And so, yeah, it was number 8, because you saw when I took it off there. In fact, it actually had a little bit of pressure on it, because it kind of spit out when pulled that hose off. But I think we should be good to go now. Wash a little of that little fertilizer off. That 28% is very corrosive. Well, I'll tell you what, I think that's pretty much all the maintenance stuff that I need to do on the planter. And so I think I'm going to call that an end of this video. As you can see, I got the planter half unfolded here in the shed to open it up. That way I can work on it on both front and back sides. So I think I'm going to call that an end of this video. So take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.